Good morning to you. It is Saturday, December 10th, 2016. I'm Abby Huntsman. The Secretary of State list getting a little shorter as Rudy drops out.
He has enough sufficient choices so that he can get someone as good and maybe better.
What America's mayor says about who should be the next top diplomat and what he thinks about Mitt Romney.
A stunning new report from the U.S. government claiming the Russians helped Donald Trump win the election. But as shocking as that sounds, it's Trump's response that's getting all the attention this morning.
And many people would call Hillary Clinton a hypocrite for condemning fake news stories. But if that's the case, then what would you call Lion Brian Williams? This morning, he's on a mission to promote the truth. Fox and Friends starts right now.
Thank you to the incredible people of Michigan. And now we're going to bring back your jobs. We are going to win Michigan. I felt it. I said, how does somebody else win it? I heard a half an hour ago the courts ruled we totally won it. That's over. Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas. Right? We outworked anybody that ever ran for office. My administration will follow two simple rules. Buy American and hire American. It used to be the cars were made in Flint and you couldn't drink the water in Mexico. Now the cars are made in Mexico and you can't drink the water in Flint. We're going to change that. I am asking you to dream big and bold and daring things for your country and for yourself. All together, we will make America strong again. We will make America rich again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again.
There you go. Donald Trump out in Michigan, part of his big thank you tour. Good morning on this Saturday morning. Welcome into Fox and Friends. That was a great line, too, about the water in Mexico versus the water in Flint, Michigan. It's unbelievable.
He's had a lot of lines this week. He's been all over the place, thanking, obviously, the states that helped him propel him to the White House.
Wait, he's been all over the place. You've been all over the place.
Yeah, I know. Everywhere he goes, I feel like one of us ends up being there. I was in Florida on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I was in Ohio yesterday. And I brought some gifts for you guys because, as you saw on the show yesterday, we were at the Machine Shed, which is one of the famous spots in Iowa. All the politicians stop there. They're known for these cinnamon rolls or cinnamon buns. We've had a debate on what you want to call them, but they're the size of your head.
I'm glad you brought me the small one. Holy cow. Is this for like a family of four?
It's actually a serving of one.
This is a Midwest portion right here. This is how we do it.
It's
Holy
crazy.
cow.
Absolutely. And you did a great job. And you're talking to the people, figuring out
how was Lenny's. Lenny's one of my favorite diners in Florida, Clearwater. Love going down and see the Phillies play there, and they have the alligator omelet that you
alligator omelet. I was on a tractor there, as you can see, in Iowa, and when Trump was when Mr. Trump was in Iowa, he actually spoke directly to the tractor. I could be a farmer in my next life.
You could be a farmer.
But he spoke directly to the farmers about how important their job is and how he wants to make sure that he puts policies in place that help them out. I think that's part of this thank you tour, talking to the voters at these different diners. You guys have both seen this as well. I think they really appreciate when President-elect Trump actually goes to where they are, makes them feel like they're important.
It is unprecedented. I mean, former president-elects have not done this. It keeps the interaction with the people ongoing, which I think fed him from the beginning, has informed his candidacy from the beginning, and keeps the enthusiasm up for his policies.
You've eaten half of that sticky bun already.
Well,
and there's a lot of enthusiasm and excitement about what's going on with these cabinet picks, and we think we probably will see a Secretary of State choice this week if we listen to Rudy Giuliani the other night, who now has taken his hat out of the ring. No more Rudy.
Yes, that's right. Actually, he was on O'Reilly last night, and here's what he said about why he dropped out of that race.
It was on November 29th, and I thought that the president-elect, who my main interest was getting him elected, not getting a job, and saving America, I thought there were enough choices, good ones, for him to pick that I wasn't absolutely necessary. If I felt like I was the only one who could do it, probably I would have stayed in, but I thought that he has enough sufficient choices. I can tell you that I have tremendous respect for John, and I think John and some of the others would be great secretaries of state. If he selects Mitt Romney, I'll support Mitt Romney, But I think I've already said publicly that I thought he had gone too far. It's one thing to have a team of rivals. It's another thing to have a team of enemies. And I think Mitt Romney put himself, unfortunately, in the category of enemy.
So is that where the timing comes? So today we find out that you've pulled yourself out of consideration because a choice is imminent? A name's going to be announced soon?
Meaning within the next 3, 4, 5 days. I think he's down to 2 or 3 people, and he's got to decide which of the 2 or 3 he considers, the best for him.
So that's interesting. They took his name out about 10 days ago.
Yeah,
and he kept it secret. So people kept speculating, is it going to be Rudy? Is it going to be Mitt? And he's probably sitting back going, nope, it's not going to be me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it was for Mr. Trump to protect him as well, because he was so loyal throughout the campaign. And people don't always understand. This is a very personal thing for individuals, for families to go through. Are you going to get this job? Are you not? It's so public. We're all gossiping about it all. So I think this was a way for Mr. Trump to say, look, I don't know that you're going to be the pick for Secretary of State. Maybe it's the right thing to do to remove yourself and make it look like you stepped away from it.
Yeah, and there was one position Giuliani wanted, for better or for worse. He wanted to be Secretary of State. He didn't want DHS and other positions. So it looks like, it appears, he made that clear up front and said, hey, this is what I'm interested in. Campaigned publicly for it a little bit, which some have said may have hurt him a little bit up front. But otherwise, once you realize maybe that's not in the cards, it appears he kind of stepped out.
It's an interesting thing, right, to then be sort of campaigning out there. So, yeah, I want that job. I want that job. But on the other hand, there are other people who allegedly have been leaking their names to be involved in this process, and the Trump team is probably sitting back saying, wait, no, there's 3 people on our list. How is it now to 10?
I've heard that people just walk into Trump Tower and just ask for a meeting. I'm thinking about doing that myself. Let me in the door.
Picture of Abby walking into Trump Tower. She's now up for Secretary of State.
You never know.
For?
Well, here's Exxon's Rex Tillerson reportedly now moving up the list for Secretary of State job, along with Mitt Romney. I don't know. Rex Tillerson now from
Well, there are reports that he's actually the front runner. He's meeting again with President-elect Trump this weekend. Of course, he's the CEO of arguably the largest company in the world. Someone that obviously
goes back and forth between Apple and Exxon as the largest company in the world.
So clearly, he's well respected on the international stage when it comes to business.
It's a different and interesting pick. There have been other businessmen that have been Secretary of State, but it would be an outside the box kind of reorientation. Probably a recognition too. Trump has used "we're open for business." America's open for business. You could see that on the world stage too. If you've got a businessman who has ties across the world, including to Putin and Russia, which is something Trump has been criticized for, and the Middle East.
Right.
You could see an opportunity to open up more opportunities for American businesses potentially, if that's the orientation Donald Trump wanted to take.
Let us know your thoughts on all this. You can email us this morning, friends@foxnews.com. And Rudy Giuliani is going to be on our show in the 8 o'clock hour this morning. Send in your questions. We'll read some of your questions to him this morning as we get deeper into this.
If you're sitting out there, you're probably thinking, hey, this guy's been involved in the process. Send us your thoughts. We certainly have some questions brewing, but
you also wonder if he will end up doing something else in the administration, if it's like an ambassadorship or maybe working inside the White House somewhere, or if he's just saying no to across the board to everything.
Or he just says, I want to enjoy my Christmas holiday.
I want to enjoy my life.
Well, that's what he said. I got private business. I got family. Who knows? Yeah. Well, there's also a report out just today. The Washington Post there's a report saying that the CIA has concluded that there's a secret report from that agency that Russia interfered with the election to help Trump win. Now, the headline sounds dynamic and strong, although you dig deeper into the article, and here's a quote from the Washington Post article. So senior officials at the CIA have said certain things, but this is the quote itself. A senior U.S. official said there were minor disagreements among intelligence officials about the agency's assessment, in part because some questions remain unanswered. For example, intelligence agencies do not have specific intelligence showing officials in the Kremlin directed the identified individuals to pass the Democratic emails to WikiLeaks.
So we don't know if it's political, but they did say that intelligence agencies have identified individuals with connections to the Russian government who provided WikiLeaks with those thousands of leaked documents. So they came to that conclusion, but then they didn't fully have all the details to make the conclusion.
That's right.
So something happened.
Well, the CIA always tries to draw conclusions from incomplete information. You understand that.
But a
lot of anonymous sources,
anonymous sources. But at the same time, it doesn't say they did this in order to, we can prove they were attempting to elect Donald Trump. We know Russia's been meddling in our affairs and our elections for years. It's what they do.
And everyone should be concerned about that, regardless of what political affiliation you align with. But here's the thing. I think there's something to people not wanting to accept the election results, right? They don't want to accept that maybe President-elect Trump won because people got out to vote for him.
Everyone's looking for a scapegoat.
Everyone's looking for something. And when we go out and we talk to actual voters, what I will say I've heard back, it's usually not about emails or anything to do with the Russians. It has to do with them wanting a different direction for this country.
Jobs,
wanting new policies, wanting jobs. So that's what I keep going back to.
So the Trump campaign responded to this report because remember, the Washington Post headline says secret CIA assessment says Russia was trying to help Trump win the White House, and yet they go further in the piece to basically say they don't have the proof yet to conclude that. So anyway, here's the Trump's response, the Trump team response. They say these are the same people that said Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. The election ended a long time ago in one of the biggest electoral college victories in history. It's now time to move on and make America great again.
You know, the irony of this as well is that it's the same Democrats who dismissed Mitt Romney when he called Russia the big geopolitical foe now think Russia is a boogeyman behind every corner, manipulating every aspect of our election, and controlling our new president-elect. Yeah. He laughed at him, and now suddenly they're a serious threat to be taken.
Yeah, well, usually that's what happens when you don't want to see the writing on the wall or blame yourself. You point fingers at anything else that could be to blame for something.
Yeah, yes. I guess when it doesn't happen to you, though, it's okay. But when it does happen to you, then it's troubling. So I think, you know, when this
happens... That's a solid life double standard.
It does, but then when this does happen to Republicans eventually, and the Russian government looks into something that they're going to be mad.
It's
so
scary.
It doesn't, to your point, doesn't matter what side of the political aisle. If the Russians are involved in our democratic process, that's a problem.
Because the WikiLeaks are going to boomerang back at Republicans at some point,
At
too.
some
you know
point.
What I mean?
All right, we do have some other headlines to get to this morning as well. Starting with this, late last night, Congress narrowly avoiding another government shutdown after Senate Democrats caved on a bill to fund the government through April of next year. That bill passed with less than an hour to go before the midnight deadline last night. Red state Democrats were trying to tack on health care benefits for retired coal miners in an effort to appeal to Donald Trump's voters, but ultimately that attempt failed. Also this overnight, the White House agreeing to deploy 200 additional U.S. Special Forces to help fight ISIS in Syria. Defense Secretary Ash Carter says the troops will help organize, train, and equip local fighters in the fight to take control of Raqqa. And this latest troop increase will bring the total number of U.S. boots on the ground in Syria to 500. Then there's this. Jill Stein denied again. Michigan Supreme Court refusing her appeal to continue a recount again, claiming that she had no legal standing to request one after receiving just 1% of the vote. And this even ever after the gracious loser Stein blasted the court's decision, saying, quote, in Michigan, political cronyism, bureaucratic obstruction, and legal maneuvering have run roughshod over the democratic process. And baby number 3 is on the way for Bristol Palin. This will be the second child for Palin and her husband, Dakota Meyer, the 26-year-old daughter of former vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin, welcomed their daughter, Sailor Grace, last December. The couple just got married in June, and Palin also shares a 7-year-old son with ex-fiancé Levi Johnston. Growing that family.
Congratulations. Dakota is a friend, and
3
congratulations.
Kids.
Awesome.
That's great.
3 kids. Not easy.
Yeah, good luck with that.
You only have 2 hands, right?
I got to
tell you.
I can tell you, too.
Coming up here on the show, President-elect Trump is about to appoint his 5th female cabinet member. So why is the mainstream media making this a big deal?
And Democrats across the country broke out in tears when Hillary had to cancel her victory fireworks. But it turns out the campaign may have considered a different option, handing him over to Donald Trump. Welcome back. Well, if you watch other networks or follow the mainstream media, you might hear time and time again that Donald Trump is anti-women or never appointing enough women or doesn't support women. The war on women never stops, right?
I have a New York Times headline from just the other day.
Say from where?
Is Donald Trump's cabinet anti-women? That's the New York Times headline.
When was that? When was that put out?
That was this week, December 7th.
Of course.
Ian, that was after he had already appointed a number of women to his cabinet.
Indeed. And recently, there was an additional female appointment to the cabinet, which you may have missed. Congresswoman from Washington, Cathy McMorris Rodgers, who I've gotten to know and worked with on Capitol Hill, a very smart, intelligent leader. She's been nominated to be the head of Interior.
Yeah, and this would make number 5 because, of course, you have Nikki Haley at the UN, you have Elaine Chao, Education, Betsy DeVos for education, and then Linda McMahon. So, I mean, that makes it 5 women. So to your point earlier, Pete, of all this talk about, him having issues with women, or, does he actually, appreciate them? Is he going to bring them into the fold? I mean, I think we're already seeing these early stages of
that's right.
And the press calling him misogynistic, and that his cabinet was shaping up to be misogynistic, which if you look at the Obama cabinet, had 6 females, and so far, and he's not even done picking them, there's 5 in there now.
Absolutely. And those are big time positions: education, interior, to the UN, ambassador to the UN. I mean, these are key people you're going to need to advance policies. He said, I want to make a priority.
Yeah.
So.
It'd be interesting to know about the Palin angle in all this too, because we heard her name floated for Secretary of the Interior for a while, and maybe when she came out last week against his carrier deal, saying that was crony capitalism. I wonder if that was the
or if she's putting her name out there as well. As we were saying, some people are floating their own names. How serious is that compared to if they're actually looking at those people? I don't know.
I would say it's generally not a good idea to slam the president-elect if you're looking for a job.
If you're looking for
I'm just going to say. I mean,
write an opinion piece.
I don't know. There's some stuff out there you can speculate about, but that one feels pretty solid.
But you look at that group of 5 women, and it seems like so far he is looking at the best person for that job. So you can't argue that he's putting them in there just because he needs to put a woman somewhere in his cabinet. I think he's looking at these folks. You look at Elaine Chao there for education. She's got a long resume for that speaks highly for her in that position.
That's what I really like about this process. I think where he's felt like he's landed on the right individual, male or female, black or white, whatever, he's named it. When he hasn't, he's had a more deliberate process, like Secretary of State, expanded the pool of people. That's indicative of someone, as you said, trying to find the right person for the right job, as opposed to checking a box. No one, Americans don't want female here, minority here. You know what I mean? It's the best person, and hopefully there is a nice cross-section of America as well.
And I was hoping that there would be a team of rivals in that cabinet, too, not all just yes men and sycophants. We're like, yes, sir, yes, sir. Nikki Haley was opposed to him during the primary and spoke publicly about it, and there she is sitting in his cabinet now.
And we'll see more of that to come.
All right, well, coming up, Rahm Emanuel gives a reporter the finger. Well, that's one finger, not that finger. What kind of question do you need to ask to deserve that?
And remember this atheist group's billboard telling Americans to make Christmas great again by skipping church. Well, now Christians are responding with a message of their own. It is the battle of the billboards. That is next.
And keep your hands to yourself.
Welcome back on this Saturday morning. Some quick headlines for you. When Hillary Clinton canceled her $7 million fireworks show days before the election, President-elect Donald Trump came up with you can call it an explosive plan.
We will offer you 5 cents on the dollar for the fireworks, right? They never responded. I thought I could buy the fireworks cheap.
Always a deal maker, Clinton spent nearly $1.2 billion in her losing bid, nearly twice what Mr. Trump spent to win. And Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel giving an emphatic no when asked about a potential presidential run in 2020. The former White House chief of staff and mayor of Chicago flipping off a consultant twice at a Washington steakhouse when the question came up in the conversation. His staff reportedly telling him to tone it down and reminding him there was a female reporter in the room. Rahm reportedly shooting back, quote, "I don't give a bleep who she is." Well, that's one way to answer it.
We're going to start saying Merry Christmas again. How about all those department stores? They have the bells, and they have the red walls, and they have the snow, but they don't have Merry Christmas. I think they're going to start putting up Merry Christmas.
President-elect Donald Trump let the nation know he has no problem wishing everyone a Merry Christmas, but one atheist group has placed billboards in several cities taking a line from the president-elect, asking Americans to make Christmas great again by skipping church. So how are Christians responding? By putting up billboards of their own that say this and underlying the word Christ. Here for more on the billboard battle is National Program Director for American Atheists, Nick Fish, and owner of Signs of Christmas, David Johnson. Nice to see both of you this morning. Nick, why did you guys decide to come up with this billboard? What's the message?
Well, so, the message, the primary message here that we want people to know is that in these communities throughout the country, they're not, if you're an atheist, if you don't, believe in all the religious stuff, you can still have a great Christmas doing all the things that most of us really enjoy doing at Christmas, having a meal with friends and family, giving gifts to our kids, doing charity. all those things, you know, they're not just religious. They're not, Christianity does not have a monopoly on those things. You can have a great time, and you don't need to stick and continue doing things that you don't believe anymore just because there's societal pressure to do those things.
David, what was your response when you saw that billboard?
Well, the first response was, I appreciate that they put Christmas on the billboard. That was the first motivation we had for Signs of Christmas, is that what even Christians were not recognizing Christmas, was not recognizing that it's the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. So we are appreciative to see anyone acknowledge Christmas. And the second thing that I wanted to say was that without the atheists, I wouldn't be on Fox News right now. So I appreciate the opportunity to get on Fox News and promote Signs of Christmas, and to actually show respect for people of any belief.
Yeah, and those were some of your billboards we were just showing there that had the word Christ underlined. Nick, your response to that? That he wouldn't even be here talking about this if you hadn't publicly come out and had this campaign.
Well, you know, this is what we want to do. We want to start the conversation, and that conversation is something that unfortunately isn't happening in nearly enough places in this country. People make the assumption that everybody is just like them, everybody is also a Christian. That's frankly a dangerous assumption in this country, where 40% of people under the age of 30 are non-religious and 25% of the general population are non-religious.
Why is this your battle, though? Why do you care how someone spends their holiday?
If he would like to put up billboards that underline Christ, if he wants to go to church, if you want to go to church, that's your right. I don't have a problem in the world with that. What we want people to know, though, is that they have a choice, that the things that everybody wants to do at the holiday season, whether that's Hanukkah, whether that's, you know, going to church, or whether that's celebrating an atheist Christmas, you have that option.
David, don't people know, though, that they already have a choice?
They do, but I like what Nick's saying. I think he's right. People should have a choice, and people shouldn't be ridiculed for their choice. And so I support what Nick's doing. I also do want to say that, you know, that churches do great things, and I think Nick acknowledges that. And you know, just for example, I'm in a small church in Hampstead, North Carolina, and we do amazing things right in our community for teachers, for the schools. We have a share-the-table ministry. We were first in with flood relief when we had floods in North Carolina.
So then,
we have
David, it doesn't sound like you're terribly offended by this, then.
Well, you know, interestingly enough, I'd love for Nick and me to have a conversation about how do we together make Christmas great again. And I don't mean that sarcastically. I think that we would welcome the opportunity to be shoulder to shoulder with anyone to support. You know, let's figure out how we can house the homeless, how we can feed the hungry.
And the one thing I want to add on so much of this, you know, doing charitable works are great, and it's something that many of us do. But the thing that needs to be said here is that religion doesn't have a monopoly on those things. And too often people are saying that, you know, because I'm a good Christian, that's shorthand for I'm a good person. And in fact, that's not true. You can be a good person and be a good Christian, but you can also be a good person and be an atheist. You can be a good person and, you know, not do the religious stuff at Christmas, and that's the primary message that we want to get out there.
Well, we got to leave it there. Thank you guys for. I enjoy. Well, maybe you guys get together, have a beer, go out to lunch. It sounds like you guys have a lot more to talk about.
We'll have a beer summit.
Can I make one more final
okay,
point
David,
to the Christians?
Quickly.
This one final point is this thing will probably be posted somewhere on social media, and I just encourage the Christians to not show hate towards somebody of an opposing view.
Absolutely.
You know, let's use the opportunity to show Christian love to anybody and respect, because that's what we ought to show at Christmas.
I love this. Magnanimous, nice.
Such agreement here at 6 in the morning, right?
I love it. I love it. Nick, David, great to see both of you this morning.
God bless. Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays to everybody.
All right, coming up here on the show, the Trump team slamming the CIA's report that Russia intervened in the election. The team says it's time to move on. Do they have a point? Our political panel here to discuss that next. And many people would call Hillary Clinton a hypocrite for condemning fake news stories. But if that's the case, then what would you call Brian Williams? This morning, he is on a new mission to promote the truth.
A new report out this morning says the CIA has concluded that Russia intervened in the 2016 election to help President-elect Donald Trump win the White House. Well, Team Trump firing back at the CIA saying, quote, These are the same people that said Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. The election ended a long time ago in one of the biggest electoral victories in history. It's now time to move on and make America great again. Here to react is our political panel this morning. Julie Roginski, Fox News contributor and Democratic strategist, Jim McLaughlin, Republican pollster, and Aaron McPike, political analyst. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Julie, I'm going to start with you. Is this just more sour grapes here? I mean, when are we going to stop pointing at someone else for the defeat of Hillary Clinton?
Well, I'm very surprised to hear, Pete, that Republicans all of a sudden are now saying that Russians are great, and there's no way, heaven forfend, Vladimir Putin would ever do anything to destabilize the West. It's not like that's ever been in his DNA. Look, what I think Donald Trump said is incredibly dangerous. He's now saying that intelligence emanating from the CIA is essentially disqualified because of Iraq. Now, that's a worldview that you can take, and that's fine. But when President Trump has to rely on the CIA and on their intelligence assessments to sell a particular foreign policy, those words may come back to bite him. And I think that's something he needs to think about and stop thinking, and from a partisan perspective, start thinking as a president who's going to have to govern and use the CIA as a tool in
So this secret leak came out of a Washington Post article. In the article, it went on to say there were disagreements among intelligence officials about the assessment because some questions remain unanswered. The Kremlin's, it shows some officials inside the Kremlin did not necessarily direct it, but may have been associated. So there's some confusion in the intelligence. Do you think it's fair for the Democrats to now be pointing to Russia when they, remember when Mitt Romney said, you know, ignored?
He was right.
He was right, right?
Yep. Mitt Romney was totally right. And I'll tell you something. What this says is Mike Pompeo can't take over the CIA soon enough. I mean, this is a disaster. This is what the people were looking for. Hillary Clinton didn't lose because of the Russians. Hillary Clinton lost because 2/3 of Americans thought she was dishonest. Hillary Clinton lost because when you look at the exit polls on the three most important issues of the day, change, the economy, national security, Donald Trump had significant advantage over her on those issues. And that's why Donald Trump won.
Aaron, what do you think?
Well, look, obviously Donald Trump is going to be leading these agencies, so he has to walk a fine line here and doesn't want to undermine the agencies. So we do want to see what the results are of the study, but it may be that we shouldn't have heard about this investigation until after it was concluded.
Sure. Well, it was leaked. We don't always know why things are leaked to the Washington Post, but it came alongside the same day that Barack Obama is saying we're going to investigate these elections and the Russian influence in them potentially.
He obviously needs to be a legitimate president, right? So he has to say this didn't really throw off the results of the election. But you do have to walk a really fine line because we do need to know if there was hacking.
I also want to say I don't think Democrats are blaming the Russians for why she lost. I think both sides, and this doesn't include just Democrats, this includes Mike McCall, the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee. It includes the chairman, David Nunes, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee in the House. Both Republicans, Lindsey Graham, John McCain, Ben Sasse, I can go on and on. Republicans and Democrats all agree the Russians most likely had something to do with this. The government should release a national intelligence estimate as declassified as they can make it to tell us exactly what transpired. This should not be a partisan issue because one day, when they don't like Donald Trump's behavior, they're going to do the same
thing. Just like WikiLeaks one day could release emails from the RNC. No doubt, but there were disagreements. There is no overall intelligence assessment because intelligence agencies disagreed. So, and Barack Obama came out 2 days after the election saying there's no evidence of tampering
Barack Obama
at
failed
all.
on this, by the way. Barack Obama should have taken action long ago on the Russians and their hacking. So I'm not excusing Barack Obama on this. What I am saying to you, however, is the intelligence disagrees on whether the Russian government did it or people allied with the Russian government did it. Now, as somebody who does know...
Which is a big difference,
well, no,
right?
Pete, actually, it's not a big difference. As somebody who knows something about the Russian government and how they behave, just because Vladimir Putin is not doing this from the Kremlin doesn't mean he doesn't control levers that are associated with him, so that when WikiLeaks and Julian Assange come out and say, well, we didn't get this from the Russian government, that may de facto and legally be true. It doesn't pass the laugh test because there are plenty of people who are associated with Vladimir Putin.
Jim, does it pass the laugh test?
You know what? I really believe it. It's a joke for the Democrats to still be
Republicans
pushing.
Too.
For the Democrats to still be pushing this issue and saying it's why she lost. There's no way
not what we're saying.
she lost.
I don't think any
Nobody's saying that. I'm a Democrat. I'm not saying that.
I get that.
Well, they're muddying the waters, though, right?
But at the end of the day, what they're trying to do, it's similar to what they tried to do to George W. Bush back in 2000, where they're trying to discredit his presidency. Yeah. And that's what they're trying to do with Donald Trump. And I'm telling you, it's going to backfire on the Democrats. It's going to backfire on them again because you know what? Donald Trump's numbers have increased significantly since Election Day. His approval rating now as president-elect is over 50%.
So talk to Mike McCall, talk to John McCain, talk to Lindsey Graham. None of them are Democrats, and all of them agree that the Russians most likely had something to do with this, and we need to do something about it. You keep saying the Democrats,
but it doesn't mean
it's a bipartisan assessment.
Directed by or orchestrated with the Trump and the Trump White House.
Nobody's suggesting that Donald Trump was responsible for this.
Plenty of people have suggested.
I'm sorry, that's crazy. We have no evidence of that.
We've got to leave it right there. The Russians are telling me the segment's got to be over.
I'll translate for you if you like.
Julie, Jim, Aaron, thank you very much for joining us this morning. All right, Abby, over to you for some headlines.
Thank you, Peter. All right, some quick headlines for you now. Chilling, just released video shows Dylan Roof entering and leaving the South Carolina church where he allegedly killed 9 African Americans in cold blood last summer. Roof caught on tape laughing to FBI officials during his disturbing confession, and this just hours after the massacre.
Well, I killed him. Well, I guess. I mean, I don't really know. Well, I don't know how many people or anything like that.
So did you shoot him?
Yes.
What kind of gun did you use?
A Glock 45.
And that confession shown to jurors during his death penalty trial. The self-proclaimed white supremacist telling agents he was trying to start a race war. And the head of the VA ticked off at a USA Today report outlining the agency's own rankings for VA hospitals. Secretary Robert McDonald claims there are no bad facilities, and this despite giving his own clinics just 1 out of 5 stars. The Phoenix VA hospital, where veterans allegedly died waiting for their care, is among the 1-star centers, and in addition to hospitals in Dallas, El Paso, Nashville, and Memphis. Also, this news anchor Brian Williams is just furious about fake news. Take a listen.
Fake news played a role in this election and continues to find a wide audience.
The MSNBC anchor's comments come nearly 2 years after he lost his job hosting NBC Nightly News over his own false reporting. Well, among his exaggerated tales was where he got confused about being in a helicopter in Iraq that was hit by enemy fire back in 2003. Those are some of your headlines this morning.
All right, Rick Reichmuth standing by outside, and it is getting cold, cold, cold.
Yeah, good morning, Rick.
That time of year, guys, it's happening. The cold is here. There's some snow that's here for a lot of people as well. I think this time of year, maybe you don't mind that as much. It's that March where it becomes a problem. Take a look at the weather maps. Let me show you what's going on. Across much of the East Coast, not that bad. It's still a little bit of lake effect snow that's going to go on today, but that lake effect snow that we've seen, really heavy snow, is going to taper off a little bit. You see the snow developing, though, across parts of Nebraska and in towards South Dakota. That is our snowmaker throughout the day across Iowa. By tonight in towards Chicago, we're going to see a swath of 5 to 8 inches of snow. Once that snow's in place, it's going to help things stay cold, so it reinforces the cold air that's coming in. Another storm moving in across the west, and there's a lot of moisture that's going to continue to be there, along with the cold temperatures. We'll talk more about the cold coming up at the top of the hour, guys. Right now, we'll send it back to you inside.
All right, thank you. I can't believe it. Snow.
Love it. Oh, I've got snow in my house.
I want some snow on football Sunday. I want to sit by the fire and not be out in it and just watch it.
With a cup of hot cocoa?
That's right.
I'll push the kids out into it. Yeah. All right, coming up, Colin Kaepernick's parents speak out for the first time about his national anthem protests. Apparently, when he kneels for the national anthem, he's just misunderstood.
Oh, and speaking of football, for the 117th time, it is Army versus Navy. Our Navy grad, Leah Gabriel, is in Baltimore for the big game. Leah, what is coming up? You're looking good.
And we are preparing for battle. In just a few minutes, I'll have my Naval Academy classmate, Commander Josh Kinnear, here to talk about the Navy's coolest, hottest jet doing a flyby for the Army-Navy football game. Stay with us and go Navy, beat Army.
Bah humbug. Well, it appears Ebenezer Scrooge could be running your local department store. A lawsuit filed against Macy's, Sears, Kohl's, and JCPenney, accusing them of setting original prices higher to make customers think they are getting deeper holiday discounts. So how can you make sure you are getting the best deals this season? Kurt Knutson, the cyber guy, is here with everything you need to know this holiday season. Good morning, Kurt.
Abby, good morning to you. Nice to see you back from Iowa.
Good to be back.
And how thoughtful is she? She brought this giant piece.
You got to have a bite, Kurt. I'm telling you.
1,000-calorie cinnamon bun.
Cinnamon bun. It's amazing.
Unreal. 4 apps this morning. You do not go shopping without these. You want to keep the stores honest? This is how to do it. So Shopular, number 1 on the list. Take a look at this app. You simply put in, you open up Shopular, and what it does is it's location-based. So it'll follow your phone. You can go in the mall, and it'll go store to store, and it'll show you as you're shopping discounts for that particular store will pop up. Lord & Taylor, just down the street here, extra 30% off. Is anyone else getting this deal? Not unless you really did your homework. And this app does the homework for you.
That's great. So that's a way to keep them honest. As I was talking about, you don't always know.
Right. So this is doing the price comparison for you, showing you where you've got the best deal, which brings us to the next one, Shop Savvy. So Shop Savvy with 2 V's. Right. Who doesn't want to be savvy, right? Take a look at this one. This one, you open up Shop Savvy, and what this does is not only price compare, but it'll also find out, are you paying the best price at the particular location you are, whether you're online or whether you're in the actual brick and mortar store. These apps are the apps you want to take with you to the cash register when you're at a store. The reason you want that is, I mean, here's how you think. When you get to the store and you're pulling out your wallet, what you want to do is absolutely go and open up an app like this third one, Retail Me Not. This one will go through and it'll find out, all right, I'm in Kohl's, and if I'm in Kohl's right now and I'm about to check out, are there any coupons or anything that I have missed before I got here? How much smarter is the next person in front of me, and how do I not want to miss the deal? Because who wants to pay more? And this one will give you that coupon that's the very latest. It's available at multiple retailers around the country. And finally,
all right, this last one, Have to Have app, and it's spelled H-A-F-T-A.
Yeah,
Clever.
exactly. I actually thought it was have to, but it's have to. And this one is really great because you and I may have our eye on something. We go shopping, say we shop in the store, we click that, we go to any of these retailers, and we say, all right, I want this leather jacket. I want it so bad, but I'm not willing to pay the full price for it, right? You put it in, you scan it right from the UPC code on the item right there in the store, and when it goes on sale, we both get pinged on our phone. It'll say, hey, guess what? That leather coat you love, it's on sale. Go grab it, right?
No excuses to not get a little bit of a sale this season.
No excuse also at this point in retail at all to be paying full price when you have this kind of technology in the palm of your hand.
Love it. Kurt, always good to have you here.
Good to have you.
With the deals. Clayton,
good to see you.
Clayton, over to you. Oh, I'm doing the tease, actually. All right, well, here we go. Coming up next, President-elect Donald Trump under fire for keeping his executive producer title on the hit show The Apprentice while he was in the House. And this morning, he is responding to his critics. Plus, for the 117th time, it is Army versus Navy. And our Navy grad, Leah Gabriel, is in Baltimore for that big game, and she is joining us live next.
It is a time-honored tradition. Army versus Navy facing off for the 117th time.
And there's word of a special guest at today's big game.
Yep, Fox News correspondent Leah Gabriel is a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, and she joins us live now from Baltimore with a preview. Good morning, Leah.
Hey, good morning, friends. Well, this is an exciting time. As you mentioned, it's a time-honored tradition, the Army-Navy football game. The West Point cadets meet with the Naval Academy midshipmen, and it is battle. As much as we're usually a team on the battlefield, today it is a war between the Army and the Navy. It's something that these cadets and midshipmen prepare for all year. As you mentioned, 117 games so far, starting in 1890. Now, the Navy is going for its 15th game winning streak. We've won 14 of the last games. Navy has won 60 in the past. Army has only won 49. Today we do have a special guest. It is a tradition that oftentimes the commander-in-chief, the president, attends the game. Today we've learned that the president-elect, the commander-in-chief-elect, Donald Trump, will be here. He'll sit on the Army side for the first half of the game and then come over to the Navy game, as far as I'm concerned, probably because he wants to watch us win. Now I'm here with a very special guest today, one of my Naval Academy classmates. You can see we are both wearing our flight jackets, and that's because Commander Josh Kinnear, Naval Academy graduate, class of '97 with me, helicopter pilot, and he's here as the coordinator for the flyover of F-35s, which is a very exciting event. So Commander Kinnear, Josh, also known as Shorty or Napoleon, tell us about the flyover today.
Yeah, so this is just one of many flyovers that we as a Navy do throughout the fleet. It's an opportunity for us to be able to showcase some of our combat power to the public, and it's to really showcase the hard work of the sailors that maintain these aircraft, and also the flight crews, so to really demonstrate what we as a Navy bring to the public and, to represent this nation.
And, it actually means so much to the midshipmen, to the cadets, to see this form of naval power, this air power, fly over the stadium to kick off the game. So let's talk about this. You and I spent time here together back 1997 was the last year we were here together at the Army-Navy football game. What's it like being back and actually being the person coordinating the flyover?
Well, I tell you, it's a great honor on two levels. Once as a former midshipman to be able to, come here. This is the game that culminates all season. And also as a naval aviator, as a former commanding officer, as a sailor, it really is. This is the coup de grace. This is the best game to come to.
Well, it truly is, and it's so great to be here with my buddy, my friend, my classmate, and we have a quick message as we send it back to you. From the class of 97, 36th company.
That's right.
Go Navy, beat Army!
Love it. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Leah and Commander. A little biased. We're going to have to balance it out.
You said you're Army. I've got two brothers in the Navy, so we're going to have to duke it out.
Of course I'm Army. I mean, go Army. This is where we break the streak today. And Army's wearing 82nd Airborne paratrooper uniforms to honor World War II.
How many have the Army lost in a row?
Too many.
Too many?
Too many.
Well,
but today is our day. Today is our day.
Okay, we'll see, Pete. So coming up, the Secretary of State list getting a little shorter. Rudy Giuliani now saying he's out.
He has enough sufficient choices so that he can get someone as good and maybe better.
So who does he think should be the next diplomat, and what does he think about Mitt Romney? America's mayor joins us live this morning.
And President-elect Donald Trump under hot fire for keeping his executive producer title on his hit show, The Apprentice.